Turf Business TV are joined by Will Brierley today, who is the Senior Groundsperson at the All England Lawn Tennis Club. Will, thank you so much for chatting to us.
Nice to talk to you, Sinead.
So let's get on to chat about, I suppose, the championships first of all, because as we speak now, give or take, we're about a month away. Obviously starting on the 27th of June. So give me a little rundown on how prep's going.
Yeah, so we're actually 5 weeks away today. So prep's going really well. We've had a nice spring, which has helped with the growing of the courts. We opened up for members on the 14th of May. So the courts have been in play now for a couple of weeks. We actually had a match on Sunday just gone. And so, feedback's been really good so far. Courts are all looking really well. We've had a bit of development work in centre court this year, which has expanded the lower ball area. So we've expanded the court out in the corners and at the north and south ends. So we've grown all those back in really nicely. We're just really looking forward to getting the tournament on again, going for a full capacity tournament again, which will be nice after the last couple of years of reduced capacity last year and obviously no tournament at all in 2020. The team have worked really hard to produce the courts. The addition of the seasonal staff throughout April have helped. And so now everybody's really pulled the weight to get the courts into a great position going into this year's championships.
So you mentioned seasonal, obviously staff there. What is the sort of criteria in order to work on the championships and help you guys out there?
Yeah, so we recruit seasonal staff on a 6-month contract from April through to October. And we're looking for people who are MVQ level 2 qualified in the first instance. And we take those from all over the world. We've got 2 Australians and New Zealand-born greenkeeper working with us this year. In the past, we've had Americans and Spanish, a couple of French. So yeah, we'll take from anywhere where the qualifications there, and they're looking to come over and learn tennis, because there's not a lot of grass court tennis venues outside of Europe. A few around in Australia, but there aren't that many. We're looking for that in the first instance, and then as time goes on, then we'll look to take on some labourers as well. So they don't have to be qualified; they'll just come in to help supplement the team. They'll be trained up to do most of the jobs that the rest of the team do. We'll end up supplementing with a couple of people who aren't qualified but are very much interested in the industry, and that makes up our little team of seasonal staff.
So working with obviously people from abroad, like you mentioned, how do you find that? Because I think it's quite well known or quite well agreed that British turf care is some of the best around, and obviously the people that work in Britain and come from British venues and go abroad are really high skilled. So how do you find that with sort of working with people from other places of the world?
Yeah, no, it's really good. We're fairly fortunate that a lot of people that come here come through word of mouth. So they've known seasonals who have been before, which means that they know the standard that's expected when they're applying. So we always tend to end up with a really high standard of staff, and they're all coming from golf courses or cricket grounds, the occasional football team. Groundsmen will come along as well. So we're very fortunate that, like I say, the word of mouth means that we're not getting too many people that don't fit in. I don't think it really matters what country you're coming from. I know that perception is of British groundskeepers, greenkeepers being the best and being really good. But I think anybody who's working in this industry and has a passion for this industry, they want to want to come to these sort of venues and really prove themselves. So yeah, we get some good staff.
So keeping on the thing with staffing, I wanted to ask you how it is obviously being senior ground person. I think you said there's 4 others of you that are senior in the team, is that right?
So there's 3 other senior ground staff as well as myself, yeah.
So how was it obviously going from just a regular grounds person to then sort of getting the senior role? Were you supported by AELTC in terms of taking on the managerial role and managing people?
Yeah, so the nice thing about working at Wimbledon is I actually started as a seasonal member of staff way back in 2005, before taking on the full-time role, and then getting the promotion to senior. So I've been through all of the processes that all of the team have gone through. And then upon applying for the promotion to senior, the club obviously have backed since, with the additional managerial training that comes with the role, because obviously coming into groundsmanship, it's not something that comes naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the club have been really supportive. They held their own in-house foundations and management course that spanned over 2 years, and they're currently putting me through my foundation degree in sports turf management online with Myerscough College. So they've been nothing but supportive of my progression. And so yeah, alongside the other seniors, that just means that we've got a great wealth of knowledge. In fact, all of the seniors have all come through the same way. We've all started as seasonal members of staff before becoming full-time. So I think that breeds a lot of respect from the team because they understand. Yeah, so the nice thing about working at Wimbledon is I actually started as a seasonal member of staff way back in 2005, before taking on the full-time role, and then getting the promotion to senior. So I've been through all of the processes that all of the team have gone through. And then upon applying for the promotion to senior, the club obviously have backed since, with the additional managerial training that comes with the role, because obviously coming into groundsmanship, it's not something that comes naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the club have been really supportive. They held their own in-house foundations and management course that spanned over 2 years, and they're currently putting me through my foundation degree in sports turf management online with Myerscough College. So they've been nothing but supportive of my progression. And so yeah, alongside the other seniors, that just means that we've got a great wealth of knowledge. In fact, all of the seniors have all come through the same way. We've all started as seasonal members of staff before becoming full-time. So I think that breeds a lot of respect from the team because they understand where we started off and how we've worked to get to where we are now, to get into that position.
So sticking with the subject of the managerial role, I wanted to touch on mental health because it's a big thing at the industry at the moment, and it's been brought up at our Turf Business Summit last year. So how is that from a sort of senior point of view in terms of checking in on the lads? Because obviously it's such a high profile tournament you've got going on there, so it comes with pressures, I would assume.
Yeah, it does. It definitely comes with a lot of pressure. The eyes of the world are on the club for those 2 weeks. But I think we bring a lot of pressure on ourselves as well. We're very, very self-critical as a team. We're always looking to improve, always looking to make things better, and that can, as I say, that can lead to a lot of self-criticism, which can lead to poor mental health. You're obviously working long hours, spending a lot of time away from your family, so it can be detrimental. But then we've got a team here that a lot of the guys aren't based from the Wimbledon area originally, and so the team here are almost like a a family within themselves. So everybody's able to lean on each other and talk to each other. We have mental health first aiders within the business, and we do take mental health very seriously within the business. We actually, this week, we've got a ground staff get together where we'll be sitting down with our mental health, one of the mental health first aiders, and anybody can just sort of have a bit of an open forum and a bit of a free chat then. I think we're focusing this one on anxiety, just with the anxiety of the championships building up. So yeah, we're always mindful of it. We're always checking in on each other just to make sure we're in the best possible place.
And those mental health first aiders you mentioned, have they been in the business long, or are they sort of a new introduction? Or
so the mental health first aiders have been with us, or they are members of the club. They are people within the club. They've been trained up. Probably been the last 2 or 3 years now we've had those. So yeah, and it's something I'd spoken to HR about, because as a department, we seem to hit all those statistics for young males in that sort of suicide age range. So it was definitely something picked up on by the team that we needed to make sure that we were on top of.
And do you think that sort of general consensus that's helped the morale of the team, and it's been helpful to have them there?
Yeah, definitely. We're quite fortunate as well that we have an employee assistance program. So if you don't feel comfortable enough talking to somebody within the business, there's a free helpline that you can call, and you can get help that way as well. And the nice thing is that that's available to your partner as well. So it's a really, really nice benefit of working here. And yeah, it's definitely the mental health workshops that we're doing have definitely helped open some doors and let people be able to chat freely. So yeah, no, it's been an absolute godsend. And things like people within, as you mentioned, it was talked about at the Turf Business Summit. I think Carl Stanley's been really vocal in sort of his struggles in the past and how he's gone about dealing with that. And for somebody like Carl to do that just means that everybody else is able to open up as well. So having leading figures in the industry just shows that everybody could be susceptible to it, but it just means that everybody's now more aware and more free to talk about it as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think sort of the stigma is starting to be chipped away now, and it's just sort of next steps of how can clubs and, you know, turf care establishments sort of implement how to help people and help their staff. So it sounds like the club, you know, has got the right idea, obviously where you are. I also wanted to bring up another thing that does affect mental health, I think, is obviously social media, and like you say, everyone is all eyes on the club for the tournament as it goes on, and everyone has an opinion, and often it's people that have no idea about what goes into what you do. Because I know that the championship has had its fair share of sort of bad reviews and comments from press and players alike. I wanted to ask how that affects you and the team personally, and whether, you know, you've sort of taken that on board and implemented anything since.
Yeah, definitely. So I started the AELTC ground staff Twitter page some years ago now, just to see if really there was an interest in what we did for the other 50 weeks. Everybody always talks about the 2, but was there any interest in what we did in the other 50 weeks? And it was really positive to start off with. And then you get to the championships, and as you say, everybody who has a garden then knows better than you do on how to look after grass. And the comments that come through then on social media, it's just a case of trying to let it run off your back. You've got to be, as I say, we're very self-critical here of what we do, which means that by the time we get to the championships, we know that we've put in the best that we can. and so we're expecting that somebody will say, well, my garden doesn't look like that after 2 weeks. And we can come back and we can say, well, how about you get a professional athlete to run around on there for 8 hours for 2 weeks and then see what it looks like. But we're fully aware that these comments are going to come, because I think that's just the way the world's going now. The fact that sport is more open to viewership than it ever has been. And social media just gives everybody that platform to be able to comment. That if we were to let every comment affect us, then
you couldn't do the job.
you just wouldn't be able to get through the first day, let alone the whole 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So no, it's more a case of if you see a poor comment on social media, you can wash it away a little bit. And then depending on what players the comments come from, you can sort of pick and choose which ones you're going to listen to. Bad comments that come from losing players tend to be because they've lost.
Yeah.
But if somebody's making a comment and they've won, then you're more likely to pay attention to that. And we're fairly confident that the processes that we have in place are the right ones. We have the independent research from the STRI to back up all the data that they have, to back up to say that, 2021 was no different to 2019. Likewise, not much different to 2012. So we're able to actually, if somebody comes at a comment, we're actually able to back up with data that actually there's not that much difference, if any at all.
Yeah.
And so we're able to dispel any sort of negative comments that tend to be off the cuff more often than not.
So keeping on the subject of industry issues, I know another big one is getting young people through, and staffing levels are obviously a big problem. You mentioned to me before that you're looking for a grounds manager there at the club. How are you finding that process? Obviously quite a big venue. I don't know whether you'd had the same sort of struggles, or how's that going?
Yeah, I can't really talk too much on how that's going at the moment, purely I've applied, so I'm kept in the dark a little bit on how the rest of it's going. So not to. But in terms of getting people into the industry, it was something brought up on at the Turf Business Summit. It was something that was brought up on the table I was a part of as well. And coming away from the Turf Business Summit really got me thinking, because we do occasionally struggle to recruit seasonal staff, especially since Brexit. Getting Europeans in is harder. Visa issues make it hard for Australians and New Zealand to get over, and America's always been hard. So it comes down to trying to recruit British ground staff, and the colleges and everything have they're not in the same place as they were 15 years ago to even 10 years ago. So we're not producing the same. And we myself coming away from the Turf Business Summit, sat down with the team here and said, what can we do? Is there anything we could be doing? And we've decided on the back of that to form an education working group here within the club. So I've got a team made up from a few members of the ground staff who are now looking to work with our education department to start going into schools for careers days, and start talking to students at sort of the age range just before GCSE. Where we can say to them, look, this is a viable option as a career. It's not just you fella down the park mowing the bowling green down the park that you'll see. This is a viable career. And so we're looking at post-championships, starting to go into schools and really push on doing that. And we'll start in the local area in the first instance, and see how that goes. but it's all about trying to drum up interest from a young age, and then hopefully we'll be able to get those children that want to then progress that and move on to that with college and maybe even apprenticeships.
Yeah, that's actually really good to hear, Will. That's nice that obviously steps are being made after the summit for, you know, real change to happen and for us to raise the profile of the industry. So keep us looped in on that, because I'd like to know, you know, how that goes. But let's talk about you, and let's go back to you. And I want to touch on your career. So I know you've been at Wimbledon for 16 years now. So tell me about where it all started for you.
Yeah, so I stumbled upon a college course at Myerscough College to do sports turf management, or it was a national diploma in sports turf, and just sort of went into the college to inquire about it and see what it was all about. I always loved sport, never good enough to play, so I thought, what's the next best way of getting in? And spent 2 years with Myerscough studying there. And during my first summer break, the Northern Lawn Tennis Club in Manchester were holding a pre-Wimbledon event, and we're looking for some tournament support staff. So I applied to go there. Got taken on a week early to help with the setup, worked the tournament, and then got asked to stay on for the rest of the summer. So I was working under the head groundsman there, Des Rushwaldy, who passed on a wealth of knowledge, and turned out he'd also been a seasonal member of staff at Wimbledon. So he'd sort of said, look, if you like tennis, if you're liking this, then give the seasonal position a try next year, as I had to do 6 months of my course as a work placement.
Okay.
So yeah, 2005, that's what I did. I came down here as a seasonal member of staff. Never really the biggest tennis fan in general, but as soon as I walked in the gates, it was just like nothing I'd ever seen before. You know, a lad from Burnley walking into Wimbledon, it's a little bit special. And so I spent my first 6 months at Wimbledon, learning the ropes, and then I was fortunate enough to be kept on for an extra couple of months, and told that if I wanted to return in 2006, then there was a position for me. Also knowing that there were a couple of people due to retire as well, so there'd be full-time positions. So I returned early in 2006 and really put myself forward, just making sure that if those full-time positions did become available, that I'd have a good opportunity, and thankfully I did. Started full-time in 2006, and fortunate enough that within 6 years I was able to make promotion to senior groundsman, which is the position I've been in at 10 years now. So my career has mainly been here, apart from my short stint at the Northern Lawn Tennis Club. But yeah, I've loved every minute, and obviously still here every day, still pushing to improve myself, the team, the courts, all the time. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far, and hopefully it will continue going on.
I think a great achievement as well, like you say, to come in at probably one of the best, most famous tennis venues in the world and sort of work your way up from there. So like you say, you came in through a love of sport. So did you have your heart set on a certain sector of the industry? Because obviously, as you say, you didn't know it was going to be tennis.
I was thinking that maybe I'd be able to go and work at Anfield and be able to watch Liverpool. So that's my team. So yeah, no, that was the plan. But yeah, it's strange that as soon as I started at the Northern, I fell in love with tennis groundsmanship. And I actually think that not being a massive fan of the sport helps, because it means that I don't get distracted at any point, especially during the tournament. And I can be just fully concentrated on the job rather than anything else. And I have been fortunate enough since made contact with Dave Roberts while he was at Liverpool, in that I have been and worked a match day, so I did get to live that dream as well. So
Okay.
brilliant times.
As you say, you've been here 16 years now and you worked your way sort of up through the ranks. So you've done a lot of championships in your time, but you know, sort of the night before it all kicks off, do you still get the sort of butterflies in your belly? What's it like for you?
So it starts almost a week earlier for us. We have the practice week starts the week earlier, so we need to be championships ready almost for a month, really, rather than just the 2 weeks.
Okay.
We've actually got players who are coming in and practicing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as that practice week starts and the majority of players are around, then you know everything's really getting serious, and you can start to have a few sleepless nights. You're a little bit more, oh, did we actually do this? Did we get that right? And then I think for me, as soon as I sit out on centre court for the first match and see the first ball hit and it comes up as it should, and there's a nice rally happens, then I can relax a little bit. Always a little bit conscious of the weather, the Great British weather.
Yeah.
And just what can and can't happen. We're very fortunate that the team in general has a lot of experience. So there's a lot of championships under the belts here. So most things that could go wrong, we've probably seen go wrong at some point. So we're able to rectify any issues quickly. And so I think the ability to have that trust in the team makes things a lot easier. But yeah, definitely that night before and that first morning, until that first ball's hit, there's always a little bit of nerves.
I wanted to touch on as well, as you just mentioned, what sort of bumps in the road have sort of arisen for you? What sort of the list you've got of those that you've had to overcome with the team?
When it gets to championships time, then it's mainly little things. It's things like a net band breaking, or irrigation head popping on when it should have been isolated, as we had happen 2018, I think it was. Interrupted a mixed doubles match. But when it comes to championships, it's really just the small things that can go wrong, and it's about getting out to them quickly. So
like you say, it's obviously only 2 weeks out of the year you've got that, and then you've still got the rest of the year for yourself and the team. So when you mention things going wrong, does that sort of happen outside of the championship more often than not?
Yeah, I think we're fairly well drilled that we don't have too many issues.
No.
But no, yeah, things do happen. You know, we, like I say, we do supplement with a seasonal staff. Accidents happen. Machines get hit and bumped, and irrigation heads get hit and smashed, and even occasionally some irrigation that's been in situ for quite a long time will crack, and we'll have to repair irrigation pipes. But yeah, no, thankfully, touch wood, for the most part, we've had no major issues that we've had to deal with.
And as you say, you're all very experienced, you've all been doing it a very long time, so I'm sure you've got it down now. So I wanted to ask you, you know, when the trophy is presented at the end of the championships and it's all over for you for another year, what is it that you look for yourself and the team to call it a success?
Well, the championships finishing is a success.
Yeah.
As soon as that championships is done, it's almost you put it in the bin and you look into the next year's. So as long as that finals day happens on time, then that is what success looks like to us.
Yeah.
And then we start planning and working towards the next championships. So yeah, it's a little bit of an odd one. There's not really a metric to measure. literally just having that final ball hit.
So sticking on that final presentation theme, obviously I know that when that happens, yourself and the grounds team are there for the trophy. Is that right? So for that presentation, which is obviously really, really good, I feel, for you to have that recognition, and it's well deserved. And I think a lot of other sectors of turf care and such should take notes from that. So how do you feel about that as a team, that you're standing there, and for the final ceremony?
Yeah, I think that's really good for team morale. It is a long 2 weeks. It's a lot of hours. And while there's not a recognition, nobody's saying well done to the grounds team. Just to be there, to be on that net presentation, to be able to stand there and just, I think if you see those presentations, you'll see the boys. They're all absolutely shattered, but they're all stood, chests are all died. They're all really, really proud of the 2 weeks. And so I think it's so vital to the morale of the team to get that little bit of recognition. Because, myself and Neil, we can say thank you until we're blue in the face, but just to get that little bit of extra recognition for all the hard work that they've put in, is key. Yeah.
As you said, obviously you're looking at about a month with the players coming in and practicing before the 2 weeks of the championship. So when you sort of pack up from the championship this year, how long are you looking for prep? So when do you start prepping for the next year?
Usually we get a day's rest. So the Monday after the championships is a little bit of a rest. But we have members playing again from the Tuesday. Okay. So we're actually looking to prepare for the rest of the grass court season then. The chairman now has a match on centre court on the Wednesday post-championships. And then roughly 2 weeks after that, then we'll start our renovation programme in centre and court one. Because of the stadium environment, we always get on there early just to help grow them in stronger and quicker while we're in the best growing conditions. And so, we are literally 2 weeks post-championships. We're starting again, ready for the next year. So be that coring the courts off or heavy scarification, depending on the year and the rotation of our renovation programme. We're 2 weeks, and we're then juggling between renovating courts as well as keeping courts open for members. And then we head into August, and we have a national juniors and a national veterans tournament as well, which we hold. So there's really no rest for the weekend until sort of November. So from mid-July through to the end of October is our big renovation window. So the end of the grass court season, renovation, all going on at the same time. So it's a busy period. Everybody thinks the 2 weeks is busy, but it's actually that period after the championships where it's actually the busy period.
So in terms of that renovation process, I'm assuming the club have sort of got it down now with that, but do you and your senior sort of level with the club get a say in terms of renovation? Don't know where I'm going with this. Sorry, I'm really rusty today. Let me do that question again. So in terms of that renovation process, Will, I'm sure the club have probably got it down now in terms of what works, but do yourself and your other senior team members sort of get a say in that process, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, no, we're quite a holistic team, so we're always looking to share ideas and see what works best. When the field top maker was brought in the early 2000s, the idea was to do that every year, and then we got to a point where we were almost taking the paint off the post sockets. We just couldn't dig down any deeper. But the initial ambition of the field top maker had been met, and so we then looked at what the best course of action was and how we'd go about rotating courts and renovation wise. So as I say, if we're completely stripping the surface with a field top maker 1 year, we'll probably heavy scarify for the next 2.
Yeah.
And that was the case then, probably from roughly 2010 until we started the steam sterilizing process in 2017. And again, that was another thing where just on a chance visit in Holland, it had been noticed in the plant houses, and asked if it'd work on sports turf, and the answer was why not. So yeah, we brought that process over and tried that. We had been aware it had happened at a couple of football clubs, but we thought, can we use it to try and better our renovation? And so that's part of our renovation stable as well. So we've got sort of 3 options now, where depending on what the STRI's grass counts are like, we can choose which courts we're going to do with which method. And so it's just opened up our stable to be able to try and get consistency across everything by bringing everything more even with a certain process to, as I say, just make sure that everything's the same.
Can you tell me a bit more about that steam sterilising process? Because it sounds like it's obviously quite a new process. So tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, no, for us it's been a revelation. So some of our courts here Centre Court this year celebrates its centenary. It's been here for 100 years.
Okay.
So the latent seed bank that had grown in there, we were just disturbing year on year with either removing the surface or scarification and getting a poor annual return. And we were trying to figure out how best we could get down to that. The chemicals that you used to be able to use back in the 60s and 70s are no longer here. And so we were trying to look at what is an environmentally friendly way that we could try and do that. And so we hit on this steam sterilizing. So we'll spike the courts, we'll solid tine down to about 8 inches. And then the guys come with their industrial boilers. So they'll heat up the water, run it out in pipes into polytunnels. And then as the steam fills those polytunnels, it then has nowhere else to go, so it follows the spike holes down into the profile of the court. And once we're hitting sort of 70 degrees at 200 mil, then we know that everything in that profile is dead now. That is everything in the profile, good, bad, or indifferent. But what we found is that post steaming, once we renovate, the germination time is reduced because of the way the clay soils hold the heat and the moisture. It's creating an even better sort of surface for the new seed to germinate in. And then what's coming from that is a really good root development early doors. So we're getting a stronger plant through winter. So we're getting better disease resistance. So what we thought we were doing to help control poor annua has actually reduced our chemical usage because our disease resistance is better. It's reduced the need for other things. You know, the club like to look Wimbledon ready all year round. They like a dark green. They don't like to see the grass going dormant. But the colour, the winter colour in the courts is a lot stronger because the root development's there. It's more available to get the nutrients. Things like fairy ring that were on court and have always been a problem of trying to get rid of. As soon as you steam, it goes black, and we've never seen a return. So it's been a really good process for us. So yeah, it's, as I say, it's been an absolute revelation for us, and we are looking at funding a PhD with university, and then once that research is all completed and the results are found, then that research will be there for everybody to see. We're a very open book. Every bit of research that we do, be that through STRI or anywhere, is there for everybody to see. So everybody can use it for their betterment as well.
Yeah, because I was going to say to you, do you think, obviously, because it's been so good for you, that other venues might take it up and do that as well? Because it seems to be the answer to, the turf care industry being stripped of their armoury in terms of chemicals and regulations around that. So, yeah, do you reckon you'll see a bigger upkeep, especially with, the report?
Yeah, definitely. We've had other ground staff come in and view the process as it's been going on, and I know that Arsenal did it at their main stadium this year just gone, as part of their renovation process. So it's definitely people are interested and people are looking at doing it. And I think at the minute, because it's come from Holland, they're very much using it in their flower houses for roses and tulips. If there was to be somebody UK based who could develop the same sort of thing, then it would be much more financially viable for people to do, and then probably start to take off even more.
Because it does sound like it's an expensive process from what you just explained, what goes into it. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Will, because I know obviously you're really busy yourself and your team over there. But I just wanted to look to the future. And like you say, you've been at Wimbledon for 16 years now, only really worked on, tennis. So are you looking to stay there, or do you want to sort of branch out to another sector of the industry, or what are you thinking?
Ever since I walked in the gates at Wimbledon, I said I wanted to run this place. Now, so far so good. I've managed to progress as well as I have, and yeah, this is a club that never stops. We have the whole development that is going to be taking, starting from hopefully from next year on the Wimbledon Park golf course, where we'll be building 39 more grass tennis courts to hold the qualifying event. There is never a moment where this club stops thinking about how to innovate, how to improve. And for me, that's ideal. That's exactly the sort of business that I want to be a part of. So for me, I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. My aim is to help improve the courts, to work with the team to just make this the best that we can do year on year. And I think, as I said, the new 39 courts just across the road is gonna be an absolute immense addition to the club, because the land itself is listed land, so there's a lot of things that we're having to work around to do that, but it's going to make the landscape of that land incredible around the tennis courts. There's going to be some real nice vistas around with the lake and the wildflower areas that we're going to have, as well as all the tennis courts, and we are going to be that tennis in an English garden. That's sort of the ambition and the aim and everything. So yeah, at the moment there's no plans to move on, just plans to carry on improving here.
So is that project, as you mentioned, still sort of in its infancy, or is it getting some traction now?
Yeah, so we took over part of the land at the start of this year, and we are in with the local council on planning permission at the moment. And then as of the 1st of January next year, then we take over the remaining part of the golf course. And all being well with planning permission, then we'll start the build works over there. So there's not a spade in the ground at the moment, but all the plans are there, and the ambition of the club is to have everything built and ready to be able to play in 2028. So it's going to be a very hectic 6 years if that's the case.
So are you sort of planning to staff up for that? Because obviously you still need to keep the standard of the courts of where we are now. So what's the plan for that?
Yeah, that's very much in discussion at the moment. Obviously, with 16 full-time ground staff looking after 38 courts on main site,
Yeah.
if we're going to add another 39, we're probably going to need 1 or 2 more staff as well.
Yeah,
So,
I'd say so.
so yeah, it's very much in discussion at the moment on how we go about staffing that, and the reliance on seasonal staff, as I've said, getting those is harder. So do we end up overstaffing? And just how we go about that. So yeah, going forward in the next few years, I expect there to be some job openings coming up.
Well, Will, it's been really lovely to talk to you. It's obviously really clear the passion you have for your job and how happy you are at the club, so it's really nice to see. Wish you the best of luck for this year's championships. That's obviously soon to come, and yeah, hopefully catch up with you soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.